In the vibrant city of San Francisco, Lucas, a young graphic designer, was known for his creativity and his love for a good time. After a long week at work, he decided to let loose with his friends at their favorite bar, the Rainbow Room. The night was filled with laughter, countless shots, and a sense of freedom that only came with the weekend. As the hours passed, Lucas found himself increasingly tipsy. His inhibitions lowered and his spirits high. He stumbled onto the dance floor, moving to the rhythm of the music, when he suddenly felt a steady hand on his waist. Turning around, he found himself face to face with a stranger, a man with striking blue eyes and a smile that could melt ice. The stranger introduced himself as Noah, his voice smooth and reassuring. Lucas, caught in the moment and the haze of alcohol, felt an instant connection. They danced together, their bodies moving in sync, the world around them fading away. As the night wore on, Noah suggested they get some fresh air. Lucas, trusting and intrigued, agreed. They stepped out into the cool night, the city lights twinkling above. Noah hailed a cab, and before Lucas knew it, they were on their way to Noah's apartment. The ride was a blur of stolen glances and soft touches, the anticipation building with each passing moment. As they arrived at Noah's place, Lucas felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Noah led him inside, his touch gentle and reassuring. Just as they were about to cross the threshold, Lucas's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen, seeing a message from his best friend, Mia. "Lucas, where are you? Are you okay?" The message was a stark reminder of the reality he had momentarily forgotten. He looked up at Noah, his mind racing with a mix of desire and caution. "Don't forget to subscribe to True Gay Stories for more stories like this." Lucas hesitated at the doorway, the cool night air helping to clear his mind slightly. Noah, noticing his sudden pause, turned to him with a concerned expression. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. Lucas looked at the message from Mia again, then back at Noah. I should let my friend know I'm safe," he murmured, his fingers hovering over the keypad. Noah nodded understandingly. "Of course, take your time." Lucas quickly typed a response to Mia, assuring her he was fine and would call her tomorrow. With that done, he turned his attention back to Noah. The initial buzz of alcohol was wearing off, replaced by a nervous excitement. Noah led him inside the apartment, the dim lighting and soft jazz music creating an intimate atmosphere. They sat down on the couch, the closeness of their bodies sending a thrill through Lucas. Noah poured them each a glass of water, his eyes never leaving Lucas's. "You're really beautiful," Noah said softly, his fingers gently brushing a strand of hair from Lucas's forehead. Lucas felt a blush creep up his cheeks, the compliment warming him more than the alcohol ever could. They talked for a while, their conversation flowing easily despite the underlying tension. Noah shared stories about his travels, his passion for photography, and his love for the city. Lucas found himself drawn in, captivated by Noah's charm and the genuine interest he showed in Lucas's own dreams and aspirations. As the night wore on, their conversations grew softer, their bodies inching closer. Just as Lucas was about to lean in for a kiss, a sudden noise from the other room startled them both. Noah's expression changed instantly, a mix of surprise and something else. Fear, perhaps. He stood up abruptly, his eyes darting towards the sound. "Stay here," he whispered, his voice tense. Lucas watched as Noah disappeared into the other room, leaving him alone with a growing sense of unease. What was going on? And who or what was in the other room? Don't forget to subscribe to True Gay Stories for more stories like this. Lucas sat on the couch, his heart pounding as he strained to hear what was happening in the other room. The initial magic of the evening had given way to a palpable tension. He could hear muffled voices, one of which was clearly Noah's, but the other was unfamiliar. The conversation sounded heated, though the words were indistinct. Lucas's mind raced with possibilities, each one more alarming than the last. After what felt like an eternity, Noah returned, his expression a mix of relief and apology. "I'm so sorry about that," he said, running a hand through his hair. It was just a complication, but it's taken care of now. Lucas looked at him, a mix of concern and curiosity in his eyes. What kind of complication? He asked softly. Noah sighed, sitting back down next to Lucas. It's a long story, he began, his voice tinged with weariness. I have an ex who, let's just say he doesn't handle breakups well. He's been trying to get back into my life, and tonight he showed up unannounced. Lucas listened, his heart going out to Noah. He could see the pain in Noah's eyes, the weight of his past still heavy on his shoulders. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, Lucas said, his voice gentle. Noah looked at him, a small smile playing on his lips. Thank you, he replied, but I don't want to dwell on the past. Tonight is about us. With that, Noah leaned in, his lips meeting Lucas's in a soft, tender kiss. The world around them seemed to fade away as they lost themselves in the moment. The kiss deepened, their bodies pressing closer, the heat between them growing. Just as Lucas was about to suggest they move to the bedroom, Noah pulled back slightly, his eyes searching Lucas's. Are you sure about this? He asked, his voice filled with concern. I don't want you to regret anything tomorrow. Lucas looked into Noah's eyes, seeing the sincerity and care reflected there. He nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. I'm sure, he whispered, but just as they were about to stand up, a loud knock at the door startled them both. Who could it be at this hour? And what did it mean for their night together? Don't forget to subscribe to True Gay Stories for more stories like this. The knock at the door was insistent, echoing through the apartment and shattering the intimate moment Lucas and Noah had been sharing. Noah's expression turned serious as he stood up, his eyes flicking to the door with a mix of annoyance and concern. Stay here, he murmured to Lucas, his voice low. Lucas nodded, his heart pounding as he watched Noah walk towards the door. As Noah opened it, Lucas caught a glimpse of two uniformed police officers standing in the hallway. His stomach dropped, a wave of anxiety washing over him. What were the police doing here? Noah stepped outside, closing the door behind him, but Lucas could still hear the muffled voices. He strained to listen, his mind racing with possibilities. The conversation seemed tense, the officers' voices stern and Noah's responses clipped. After a few minutes that felt like hours, Noah re-entered the apartment, his face pale. He looked at Lucas, his eyes filled with a mix of regret and resignation. I'm so sorry, Lucas, he began, his voice shaking slightly, but I have to go with them. There's been an incident, and they need to ask me some questions. Lucas stood up, his mind reeling. What kind of incident? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Noah hesitated, then sighed. It's about my ex. He's made some accusations, and the police need to sort it out. Lucas felt a pang of sympathy mixed with a growing sense of unease. He didn't know the details, but he could see the toll this was taking on Noah. Is there anything I can do? He asked, stepping closer. Noah looked at him, gratitude shining in his eyes. Just knowing you care means a lot, he said softly. But I need to handle this alone. I'll call you as soon as I can. Okay? Lucas nodded, feeling a lump form in his throat. He watched as Noah gathered his things, the magic of their evening together now a distant memory. As Noah left with the officers, Lucas found himself alone in the apartment, the silence deafening. He looked around, the weight of the night's events settling over him. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed something on the coffee table. A small, worn photograph tucked partially under a book. Curiosity piqued. He picked it up, his eyes widening as he recognized the faces in the picture. It was Noah and another man, their arms wrapped around each other, smiles wide and genuine. But what caught Lucas's attention was the date scrawled on the back. It was from just a few weeks ago. The implications were clear, and the questions began to swirl in Lucas's mind. Who was this man, and what did it mean for his future with Noah? Don't forget to subscribe to True Gay Stories for more stories like this. Lucas stared at the photograph, his mind racing with questions and doubts. The man in the picture with Noah was clearly not just a casual acquaintance. Their intimacy was evident. He felt a pang of betrayal, wondering if Noah had been honest with him about anything. With a heavy heart, he placed the photo back on the table and left the apartment, the night air cool against his flushed cheeks. As he walked home, his phone buzzed with a message from Mia. "Lucas, are you okay? You sound upset in your voicemail." He realized he must have called her in his distressed state, leaving a message he didn't even remember. He quickly dialed her number, needing to hear a familiar voice. "Mia, I don't know what to think," he said, his voice trembling as he recounted the night's events. Mia listened patiently, her concern growing with each detail. "Lucas, you need to be careful," she warned. "You don't know this guy, and it sounds like he's got a lot of baggage." Lucas nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "I know, but there's something about him. I can't explain it." Mia sighed softly. "Just promise me you'll be cautious, okay? Don't rush into anything." Lucas agreed, feeling a mix of gratitude and apprehension. As he hung up, he found himself standing in front of his apartment building, the familiar sight offering a small sense of comfort. He made his way upstairs, his mind still reeling with unanswered questions. Just as he was about to unlock his door, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning around, he saw Noah standing there, his eyes filled with a mix of desperation and apology. "Lucas, I need to explain." Noah began, his voice urgent. Lucas hesitated, his heart torn between the desire to understand and the need to protect himself. "Noah, I found the photo," he said softly, watching as Noah's expression fell. "I can explain," Noah insisted, taking a step closer. "That man in the photo, he's not who you think he is. He's my brother, and there's a lot more to the story than I can tell you right now." Lucas looked at him, the sincerity in Noah's eyes tugging at his heartstrings. But before he could respond, a sudden noise from inside his apartment caught their attention. The sound of shattering glass and heavy footsteps sent a chill down Lucas's spine. Someone was inside his apartment. Noah's eyes widened in alarm, and he instinctively stepped in front of Lucas, shielding him. "Stay behind me," he murmured, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. As they cautiously entered the apartment, the sight that greeted them sent a wave of shock through Lucas. The place was a mess, furniture overturned, and belongings scattered. But what truly sent a jolt of terror through him was the figure standing in the middle of the chaos. A man he recognized from the photograph, Noah's supposed brother, holding a knife and wearing a menacing smile.